From the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studio, here's Steve Kaplowitz and Adrian Broadus.
Let's try that again. Now this time, let's turn the music down a little bit. Hang on. There we go. Now fire that sucker one more time for me, Alberto.
From the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studio, here's Steve Kaplowitz and Adrian Broadus.
You got it. That's what we want. That's what we want. Except, yes, we want to hear all of Buzz, not just the last 6 seconds. But I appreciate that. Good stuff from the, as you heard, the River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios. Good stuff. Welcome back, everybody. Along with Alberto Duetta, I'm Steve Kaplowitz. Is Adrian taking the day off? Because if he is, that's, news to me. Was he taking off today? You don't even know. I was just in a meeting with him that ended like 5 minutes ago. And now he's nowhere to be found. All right. I like that. He probably told me, and I completely forgot about it. Who knows? But, hey, good stuff. Welcome back. We've got a lot to talk about over the course of the next 2 hours. We'll take you up till 6, and then it's John Teicher and UTEP football with Scotty Walden coming up from our home for Monday Night Football. Border City Ale House. That's right, 1506 Lee Trevino. I will be there on Monday, and I will be there every Monday with you for the football season, starting this Monday night with the Jets and the 49ers. Can't wait for that, although the last time I was there on a Monday night opener involving the Jets was a year ago, and everybody knows what happened that day. 4 plays. 4 plays. And the Jets season ended, just like that. The Jets season ended 4 plays in. So hopefully history doesn't repeat itself. But I will be looking forward to seeing everybody out at the Ale House. That's going to be a great time. Go tonight. Go watch UTEP football with Scotty Walden. You'll see the all-time great John Teicher. And he'll be talking UTEP football with head coach Scotty Walden. They'll do that for an hour from 6 to 7 o'clock. Then you've got Hags coming up at 7:30. As we continue with the Chihuahuas road trip, which started again last night. And for those of you that did not get the opportunity to follow the game, or it was in Reno, Reno got the best of the Chihuahuas 7-2. So the Aces have, listen to this, won all 7 matchups against the Chihuahuas this season, but that will continue tonight, 7:35, with Carl Edwards going up against Blake Walston. And we'll have it for you here on 600 ESPN El Paso. So excited about that. Excited about today's show. And as an added bonus, excited about Alberto. When I saw him voicing SportsCenter and I did see Adrian, I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea what's going on. Still don't. And I kind of like it. I like the fact that I've either forgotten that Adrian's not going to be here, or he's simply not here, and you just decided to take over and run the show. I feel good about that. Is this the new schedule now that Adrian has, where he's not working on Wednesdays? Is that what we're all about? Is this actually in effect?
Yes.
This thing started? It's real?
I think it's going to be Wednesdays and Fridays.
Well, he didn't tell me it was this week, so that's good to know. All right, so we've actually have no Adrian on Wednesdays, and he's scaling back is what he's doing.
That's the news we have to roll out to the folks. But yeah, I got it. The news broken to me with
at 4 o'clock.
No, I looked at the schedule like 2 days ago.
Oh,
like the one right here on the wall.
You know what? I like it. He usually reminds me of these things, and I didn't even realize it. So that's good. You know what? The man deserves some time off from this show. He works too much anyway. So the fact that I get you for a couple of days a week is going to be fun for us. We'll have a good time, and we'll talk some sports with everybody here at 505-6009. That's 505-6009. Meanwhile, you've got NFL 2024 starting tomorrow night. Now, think about this, folks. Season kicks off tomorrow with our first game, and that's going to be the Ravens and the Chiefs from Arrowhead. Kansas City, 3-point favorites. I looked into this, and I want to start with a little NFL because I think it's important, and that is this. Over the years, from the Super Bowl era and the NFL championship era, we have never had a team to win 3 in a row. It's never happened. Now, the closest we've come was the Green Bay Packers in 65, 66, and 67. Let me explain. They won the NFL championship in 65. The following year, the NFL champion played the AFL champion in what is now known as the Super Bowl. So after winning and winning the Ice Bowl in 65, they played Kansas City in Super Bowl I and won that game, and played Oakland and beat them to win what, is 3 straight titles, but it's difficult to put that as a three-peat because their first championship was not against the best in the AFL. That started the following year. So but they were the best in the NFL 3 years in a row. 1 year there was no Super Bowl. The next 2 there was. But I mean, if you count that, I'm not going to argue. But if not, it's never happened before. We've had teams go to 3 straight Super Bowls. We've had plenty of teams win 2 straight Super Bowls. Heck, the Steelers did it twice in the 70s. They won it in 74 and 75, and they won it again in 77 and 78. Think about that for a second. They won back-to-back on 2 different occasions in the same decade. It's pretty amazing when you start to think about it. So that's been done. But Kansas City has a chance to do something that's never been done before in the Super Bowl era, and that's to win 3 in a row. And if they do that, that puts them in a completely different conversation from everybody else. And we've had plenty of dynasties. I was doing my research last night. New England dynasty in the mid-2000s, and again, 10 years later when they were dominating with Tom Brady and company. They've had a lot of good runs. I mentioned Pittsburgh. The Cowboys, of course, in the 90s. The Broncos with Elway towards the end of his career had a dominant run. The Cowboys, even before the triplets with Staubach and Dorsett and Drew Pearson, they were great with Landry and those teams. And then you look at some of the others that have dominated. Miami had a nice run with 2 in a row. We mentioned already the Chiefs. And, you think of some of the other teams that have also had the opportunity to win back-to-back. Now, could we see 3 in a row from the Kansas City Chiefs? That is the best storyline to me going into the 2024 season. Yes, we could talk Cowboys. We could talk Cowboys all we want. Whether or not this is going to be Dak's last year quarterback, Mike McCarthy's last year as head coach, will they break up the band and start again next year? Will the Cowboys have an opportunity to not just go to the playoffs, but win some meaningful playoff games so that Prescott does get extended and they keep McCarthy around? I just don't know. I really don't know. But I don't think there's any better storyline in football right now than the Chiefs, who some people have gotten tired of already. They've been to 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. Think about that. They've won 3, they've lost 1, but they've played in 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. And some people have had enough because you always get tired of winners. Well, let's be honest. We're in the middle of watching a dynasty here, everybody. And the only question is, will the dynasty do something that's never been done before? And that's 3 straight Vince Lombardi trophies.
I think since it's anchored in Patrick Mahomes and he's so young, I think it's definitely possible. But, I think it's going to happen. I think it's one of those things where, growing up, it was always the Patriots. Don't go against the Patriots. In my whole life, I went against the Patriots and they kept winning. So now it's the Chiefs that just they pull everything out of a hat. And although sometimes it doesn't feel like they have all the right pieces to make a run, they put it together and things go their way. After Brady retired, it really started going the Chiefs' way.
Yes, I would say that. But again, remember Brady also not just retired, but he won in Tampa's first year. Then he looked like he was 45 years old the second year, and it made him come to the realization that the magic is over. Simply put, he had to go. And now Mahomes is, and that's another thing, okay? Mahomes has already won 3 Super Bowls and has 3 MVP awards, okay? Brady, to his credit, 7 rings, 5 MVP awards. But here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes is 28 years old. That is remarkable. Or is he 29? He might be 29. I got to double check. But the point is, what he's doing right now is nothing short of phenomenal given his age.
He's 28. He's 28.
28. He doesn't even turn 29 for another 13 days because he's born in the football season, September 17th. So it's amazing. He's not even 30 years old, and he already has 3 rings and 3 MVPs. Now, will he win 7? Probably not. That's a ton of Super Bowl titles. That's incredible. 5 MVP awards, that I could see. Maybe he's one of these guys that wins 5 and 5. 5 championships and 5 MVPs. Maybe he breaks Brady. Who knows? Maybe he never wins another Super Bowl ring again. All those things are possible. But if I had to bet on one player right now in the league, yeah, I'm betting on Patrick Mahomes. I'm not betting on anybody else because he's that good. And it's fun to see someone that has achieved the kind of success he has in his first 6-7 seasons in the league, and he hasn't even hit 30 years old yet. That, to me, is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and like I said, they don't always have all the right pieces. Last year they had a lot of wide receivers that were dropping a lot of passes. They already let go of Kadarius Toney. They let him go.
But you got to realize something here for a second now. When they needed it in the clutch,
he was there.
Yes, they stepped it up exactly when they needed it. It's what the greats do. You know, there were times last season we'd watch that team and we thought, you know what, they're kind of ordinary. They're not special. But I can't explain this. But what makes the all-time greats so special is they have another gear when the postseason starts. They all do. I mean, you can look at it. Jordan, Kobe, you can put LeBron in that equation too. And you know, in football, Montana, obviously Brady with his spectacular play. And sometimes guys that are just, you know, great players become legends in the playoffs.
Definitely, but then I think at the end of the day, when I just boil it down to this: who's going to beat the Chiefs? Who's going to beat the Chiefs? And nobody. Because look if you give Patrick Mahomes the football and 50 seconds, he's going to score a touchdown. So if you have a tight game, 9 times out of 10, Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there, make an incredible play, and score and win the game. And that's why we saw it in the Super Bowl. They don't even know the rules. The other team, the 49ers, didn't even know the rules of overtime, and they lost themselves out on that Super Bowl. So that's why I think that the Chiefs are going to keep dominating. Not only does everything go their way, they also have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and everything continuously goes right for them. And it's one of those runs where I'm now old enough to recognize, don't bet against these runs. You know, you did it so often against the Patriots. It's just realize that they're on another level.
They are.
And when they want to kick it on, they do. And there's not a team in the NFL that can compete, in my eyes, that can take them down. I think the 49ers are arguably one of the better suited teams to defeat them, and they had their opportunity, and they've failed.
Exactly right. They didn't get it done. And by the way, add Travis Kelce to that list. Taylor Swift aside, here's a guy that was going to be a Hall of Fame tight end no matter what. Okay, he is that guy. He's like Gronk to Brady. That's exactly what he is. He's that player for Mahomes, and has been so good, so clutch, playing at the tight end spot. And by the way, how lucky are you if you're Kansas City? You got to watch, in terms of great tight ends, a couple of them. First off, you had Gonzalez for all the years he played and was one of the greatest, if not the best, to ever play. And then you go from Gonzalez to Kelce. Are you kidding? I mean, it's amazing. Think about that. Travis Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, 2 of the best ever, and they've worn a Chiefs uniform. So we could talk about it with you. And really, a great question that I think Alberto brings up today. If the Chiefs aren't going to do it, who is? Who's your pick this year to dethrone the Chiefs and either represent the AFC or the NFC and win the whole thing? That's what we'd like to know as we are just a little over 24 hours away from the start of the NFL season. No Jay Jaffe today. He's going to join us tomorrow. We will, however, have an opportunity to talk a little UTEP soccer in our 5 o'clock hour. Gibbs Keeton is going to call into the Longhorn Distributing Hotline. Then we'll keep the hotline flowing with Jeff Erickson. And then John Teicher at 6 with UTEP football and Scotty Walden. And that's going to be live at Border City Ale House. So a lot to talk about today as we continue. Phone lines are open, 505-6009. Had a great number of calls yesterday. But we're asking you right now, if it's not the Chiefs, who is it to win all the marbles in the National Football League this season? All right, let's go to Charlie. Get it started right. He has our first traffic update of the afternoon. Charlie, how are we doing?
All right, we're here for Minor Welcome Week. We're getting ready for the home opener. We've got
Daisy Creel.
And we got
Luisa Rodriguez.
Joseph,
What are you majoring in?
business administration.
Steven,
What's your major?
business marketing.
Ruben, what's your major?
Mechanical engineering.
Joseph Montero,
Tyler Kwok.
What do you major in?
multimedia journalism.
I majored in psychology.
Alejandro Giner,
And your major?
I'm majoring in mechanical engineering.
Ismael,
All right, what's your major?
electrical engineering.
Amy.
Give us your best Scotty Walden impersonation.
September 7th, home opener. Let's go! Let's go, man! Hello, guys. My name is Scotty Walden, and I want you to support Minor Rugby. Let's go! Let's go, Miners!
Go Miners! Join hard.
Here out of UTEP, so make sure you always follow us on Instagram and go Miners! Woo! Let's go UTEP! Let's go out and win! Let's go!
Go Miners!
Best Scotty Walden impersonation.
What's up, UTEP? We're taking this season home. We're winning. We're gonna get it. Yeah, go Miners!
Oh, those videos are hilarious. Sometimes the audio just doesn't always do it justice because people are jumping around. They're hyped up. They're running around. They're doing their best impersonation of Scotty Walden, and it's pretty entertaining. Look, this Saturday, I'm excited. I'll be the first to tell you, I really don't care who they're playing. The fact that it's Southern Utah is fine. We only have 5 home games this year. 5. And you want to know something? This is not trying to push the hype button and overhype this team like I've been accused of in the past. No, I'm just more curious to watch this team after their first game where I only saw their offense on the field for, I don't know, like 21, 22 minutes out of 60. So I need to see more of that and see more offense against Southern Utah. See, hopefully, what'll be a W. But more than anything, just see what this team can do. We might not know really until the month of October hits what the Miners are capable of on a week-to-week basis. But to me, we definitely need to see what happens Saturday to get a much better indication, Alberto.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you didn't mention was that not only they're going to play a different opponent in Southern Utah, it's going to be a different look offensively, I think, because the guys in Nebraska were just so much bigger. They kind of just clobbered them all over. It's hard to analyze what's happening and what's just a mismatch of size or what's just bad coach. You know, it's hard to analyze a team in general when the guys are so much bigger and they dominate you on all aspects.
Yep.
And it's just not a good look for your team. So this is a team that's more on par with UTEP, and it'll be easier to grasp the things that are happening down there. So that's why I'm definitely excited.
We took a lot of calls on the Miners yesterday. If you tried getting in and you couldn't get into the program, you didn't have the time, but you do now, give us a ring. 505-6009. We'll do Sports Center here at the bottom of the hour with Alberto and keep that moving as well on the show. But no, I am interested in hearing from fans. I mean, there's a really good chance that they're going to have close to 40,000 people on Saturday. It's going to be gorgeous Saturday night, folks. Highs in the mid-80s, and by the time the game kicks off, we're probably talking about, upper 70s. I mean, yeah, it's going to be the weather is going to be great. It's starting to cool off now, and more than anything, I feel like there is so much curiosity involving this team, and people just want to see more, want to see what they're capable of. That Saturday night's going to be a big deal for them, and everybody that I've spoken to thinks it's going to be a close game. Nobody is really expecting UTEP to blow out Southern Utah. At this point, they're probably not going to blow out anybody, but it's just wanting to see if they can play well, limit their mistakes, get a win, which would go a long way for them as they get ready to hit the road next week to Liberty and go play up there in Virginia. I want to see more. That's my thing. I want to see more of this team, and I'm hoping the offense will be able to rally behind Skylar Locklear, who's been named the starting quarterback, put a couple of quality drives together. And if it doesn't work for Skylar, then Cade's going to get an opportunity to try to build on what he did this past Saturday and run that offense. So that's the one thing I'll say is I don't expect Walden to have the kind of hook like he had in the first game. He told everybody that he wanted to play both quarterbacks, and he did. And he absolutely did, and gave them both first half series and then really leaned more towards Locklear in the second half. This time around, I don't think he is going to abandon Skylar unless Skylar either can't drive the team down the field consistently or makes mistakes. I think he's going to get a longer opportunity to try to prove himself, and I'm so interested to see if he can make the most of his chances.
That's definitely going to be interesting. One of the premier storylines going into Saturday's game. One of my favorite things is that it's a night game, right? That's going to be the most interesting thing. And on line 2 right now we have Christian, who he actually he was coached by Scotty Walden. He's on line 2. His name is Christian. He was coached by Scotty Walden at Sol Ross.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be good. I want to hear what he has to say. Let's do Sports Center right now at the bottom with you, Alberto. Then we'll come back. Christian, you're next. Right here, 600 ESPN El Paso.
I'm Alberto Rueta with your Sports Center update. Let's go over to some football news. LSU running back John Emery Jr. tore his ACL in his left knee in practice Tuesday and is expected to miss the rest of the season, sources confirmed to ESPN. Emery, the Tigers' starting tailback, tore his right ACL, his other ACL, in a victory over the Florida Gators on November 11th of last year. He played only 7 games last season, and he rushed for 1,123 yards for 16 touchdowns in 6 seasons with the Tigers. Now let's go over to some baseball news. Corey Seager was put on the 10-day injured list Wednesday because of a hip discomfort that could end the All-Star shortstop's 3rd season with the Texas Rangers. The move was made before the Rangers played the series finale against the New York Yankees. Seager didn't play Tuesday night after being the designated hitter in the series opener. General Manager Chris Young said he couldn't predict whether Seager is finished for the season because the Rangers didn't yet have a full diagnosis. The reigning World Series champions Rangers entered 8.5 games out of last place for the AL wild card with 23 games left. Now let's go over to some NFL news. Denver Broncos General Manager George Patton said it would be a, quote, no-brainer to make sure cornerback Pat Surtain II was in the team's uniform for, quote, a long time on Wednesday. The Broncos did just that, as they and Surtain's representatives agreed to a record 4-year extension worth $96 million overall with a $77.5 million in guarantees. That was your Sports Center update for 600 ESPN El Paso.
All right, Alberto, thank you very much. Let's go to the phones right now as we continue. 505-6009. We'll start it off with Christian. And as Alberto mentioned, playing for Scotty Walden at Sol Ross will give us some pretty good, some pretty good perspective on Coach and the call. What's going on, Christian? How are you?
What's going on, guys? How is everybody today?
Doing all right, Christian. So take us back. How many years ago are we talking about with you?
So I graduated from Mullet High School in 2012. And then I went over to Sol Ross, and that was the year that Coach Walden took over as offensive coordinator.
Okay.
And it was his first year coaching as a graduate assistant.
Wow. Okay, so you got him in the very beginning of really his run.
The first year of his coaching career, and when I hope everybody's listening, and this is him. All the videos you see of him dancing around and yelling, getting hype, and the motivation and the words that he speaks, he's been like that since day one. That is really who he is. It's just not a show.
You know, I was interested about that because I kind of think to myself, you know, is he always this fired up and always, you know, trying to get people all hyped? And the answer to that question is yes, even going back to his days following graduation as a first-year assistant coach, huh?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, just the way that he motivates and everything, he's always been like that. And I don't know if you guys have done a deep dive. I'm sure you have. But that Sol Ross team, that offense that he took over, led the country in offense, if I'm not mistaken, at all levels for total offense.
What position did you play at that time?
I was a special teams specialist at the time. So I mainly played on special teams. I guess my official position was D-line at the time. But for the most part, you know, I was out there whenever we needed somebody, you know, for punt return, kick return, stuff like that.
Is he somebody that you kind of knew then would have an opportunity, not necessarily here, but have an opportunity to make a name for himself as a head coach?
You know, I'm sure you've come across a bunch of coaches, and you just can get a sense of it. And from the moment he started, you knew that this guy was going to make it out of Alpine, go on from there, and just continue to go up the ladder because he spoke about it. You know, not necessarily saying like, oh, I'm going to leave Alpine and move up, but you could he speaks things into existence. You know, he wills his way to where he is at now. And I'm just so happy that he got the job at UTEP. And, you know, we owe it to him and we owe it to the campus to get out there and support. And let's say it doesn't go how we think it's going to go on Saturday. We need to show up the next week and the week after that because he deserves it. And he's going to make things happen. I truly believe that.
All right. Good job, Christian. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for calling in today, all right?
You guys have a great one.
You too. All right. So Christian played at Sol Ross 12 years ago, right at the time when Scotty Walden got into coaching as like a 22-year-old right out of school. And again, listening to that call, I think what's most interesting is that personality-wise, approach-wise, it's always been this since day one. This is not something that has suddenly become bigger than life as of late. This is really who he is. So as head coach, I'm interested to see if he can take UTEP to the same place that he was able to take Austin Peay these last couple of years and some of the other spots he's been at. Because, you know, you think that if you can get that kind of energy from your head coach and all of a sudden the team can emulate that, then that can go a long way on the field.
Definitely, but I don't think it's a question of if. You know, I think Scotty Walden could definitely turn this thing around. I think it's more of a when. And whether or not the city will cooperate with you that long, and whether or not another opportunity doesn't present itself at a moment where you're not particularly happy with things and you leave, right, before things are quote unquote your job is quote unquote finished. So that's kind of what happens more than not at UTEP. So that's my opinion. I know he can do a lot of things, and he has the attributes necessary. We already saw how recruiting is affected, but it's just more of a patience thing on both sides that a lot of the times it doesn't happen.
Well, listen, again, 6 years of Dana Dimmel, okay? And then I think it was 9 years with Mike Price up until, UTEP parted ways with Sean Kugler. They were either in, I think it was year 5 when that happened. Gary Nord saw his teams kind of fall apart the 2 or 3 years after they went bowling in 2000 when his first year taking over the program. You got to realize something, and this is really important to bring up, okay? UTEP has not been relevant in football since Price first arrived, okay? And in the 2 seasons he was there, he got the Miners in the top 25. Let me repeat that one because a lot of people either forgot about it or weren't around. UTEP in year 2 of Mike Price cracked the top 25. in the AP poll. So that shows you right there where he took the team while he was here. And as somebody who was doing this show during those years, I could just tell you this. The place, when I say the place, the Sun Bowl was packed. Every single home game. 40+ thousand. There were, 4 or 5 dozen RVs that were camped out. The place was electric. And it was a very, very difficult place for opposing teams to play. Now, after those 2 years, things started to tail off, and they never came close to those first 2 seasons after that. Never did. But that was, to me, the ultimate for football that I've seen really for UTEP since the 60s, okay? Because in the late 60s, when Bobby Dobbs was here and they were going bowling, that was a very good football team. And as you've seen following the AFL draft from those late 60s, early 70s seasons, the Miners had a ton of first and second round picks. Ton. So that was a legit college football program here in the late 60s. But that was also 55, 56, 57 years ago. It's been a long time, folks. Long time coming. So hopefully, things are on the up and up. I just have a hard time saying that Scotty Walden's going to turn this program around because it just hasn't been done. It hasn't been done since the 60s. So, do I like his approach? Absolutely. Is he coming at a totally different type of style than we're used to? You better believe it. Is the offense going to be fun? Yes, it is. Is he young and his whole staff is young? Absolutely. They're all 34 years old. That's what they average. Very, very young staff. So I'd like to see them succeed. We want to see them succeed. But to go on the radio and say they're going to succeed, the question is just how long will it take and will they be able to keep him? I don't know the answer to that. No one's been able to do it, Alberto. So even though you like Scotty and everything about him and believe that he could be different than everybody else, it's so difficult to see a hire come in and immediately try to say he's the guy that's going to make UTEP football relevant again for the first time in 20 years. Because if it was so easy, it would have been done a long, long time ago.
No, I think you're right. But, we'll see what the season brings and what this new recruiting class that's highly touted brings as well. I know this first year for him is going to be rough, especially with all these difficult games at the beginning and towards the end of the season.
Not to him. He doesn't, listen, he's not looking at this as a rough season. Guaranteed. And I don't think that even if you got him behind closed doors, away from a microphone, away from a crowd, and you asked him that, I still don't think he'd believe that. To him, there is no failure and there's no, we're going to have a tough time, we're in a rebuild. I don't see that. He honestly believes that right now, despite losing 40-7 in Nebraska, he's got a team that can win 6 or more games and go bowling. I'm telling you, that's what he believes. So it's an interesting conversation as we've got phone lines open for you right now. 505-6009. That's our telephone number if you want to get in. We're about 20 minutes away from Gibbs Keeton talking a little UTEP soccer with us here on the show. Then Jeff Erickson. Then John Teicher. So as far as phone calls go, this is the time to get in. And if you can't get in on the phones, you can get in on Twitter and X. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X, and also 600 ESPN El Paso app, where you can listen to the show here like you're in the studio with us and chat with us in real time. More in a moment coming up, 600 ESPN El Paso. $49 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. 505-6009. That is our telephone number to get into the show. 505-6009. John Teicher coming up. Once again, he has UTEP football with Scotty Walden tonight for the first time this season at Border City Ale House. They've been live at Dead Beach. Now they're going to be live at the Ale House, 1506 North Lee Trevino, as they get ready. By the way, Speaking of Dead Beach, this is a very cool story that broke earlier today, and I know that some of you will be very excited about this, and that is that Dead Beach has announced the release of Miner Brew, which is the official craft beer of the UTEP Miners. The beer, by the way, is going to be the first ever specialty beer specifically brewed for UTEP. I love it. Jason Hunt, founder, owner of Dead Beach, good friend of the show, said, quote, "We're excited as a small business here in central El Paso to finally brew UTEP's official craft beer." This is going to be great. In case you're wondering, by the way, it's a 4.1% ABV crushable blonde ale, which you can drink anytime. Tailgates, game time, after game, festivities as well. Now, as far as launch date, it's going to be officially launched Friday at Miner Palooza, as well as at the first UTEP football home game. Tastings of the beer will be available at both occasions, so all of you can familiarize yourself with the brand new Miner staple. The beer will be available thereafter at UTEP Athletics games and at the Dead Beach Tavern. In fact, I've been told that this will be available only in cans, not on tap. So that makes it even more limited. And I love the can, by the way. The can is amazing. It is it's like a blue can that says Miner Brew on the top in white. And then it has essentially a miner, not necessarily pay dirt, but a miner holding the pickaxe. And he's got the hard hat with the university in the background and the star on the mountain. And it's a really cool can. Even has the 66 champs on one side and a basketball logo on the other. I think you've seen this can before, Alberto. They did a good job on it. They really did.
I don't think I've seen it. I mean,
I have it in my office. You haven't seen it?
Oh, that one. Oh,
that
okay.
one.
I've definitely seen that one.
The one I just picked up last week.
That one was nice. I did like that one.
Yeah.
Have you tried it before already?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about that too. Do you think they're going to sell it in like a 6-pack?
They are.
Okay.
They will. I'm sure there's going to be. You can probably buy them in 6-packs. You could probably buy them individually if you want to do like a mix and match. Because you can go to the tavern and maybe go pick up a Brown Bonnie, an IPA, the Miner Brew. You can also get the Abuela Stout. Get a nice mixed bag of beer at Dead Beach. But I do love the fact that Miner Brew is now here because that, as all of us know, is UTEP has never had their own beer. NMSU has had theirs forever, and that 1888 has been around a long time. And I know that Dead Beach and UTEP have been working on this collaboration for years, and I'm happy it's finally a reality.
Yeah, it's definitely super cool. You think it's possible to have like proceeds of the beer sales funnel into NIL collectives? Or since it's alcohol, you can't?
That's a really good question. I do believe there is some kind of the portion of the proceeds that will go back into UTEP athletics.
Nice.
The guys from Dead Beach are going to drop by at 4 o'clock on Friday, on their way to Miner Palooza, and they'll be able to answer that question, correctly, which will be good.
Are they going to bring some of the beer, you think?
What are you going to start drinking on the air in the middle of the show?
I never said that.
Well, I'm just curious. You're really excited about having the beer with you. I mean, if they do, we'll make sure you have a can. How's that?
Nice. I'm
All
excited.
right. You can drink as soon as the show's over. Wait, don't you have a high school football game Friday?
Yeah, so no, I
after
just
the
want to
game.
know
After the game, you could.
Yeah.
You know what you could do? You could bring it in. You could bring it home. Put it in your refrigerator. Hopefully, your refrigerator still works, hasn't lost its power, and then once it gets nice and cold, you'll be good to go. How's that?
That does sound nice.
All right.
Refreshing.
Refreshing. That's right. Miner Brew, folks, coming now here this weekend. Love it. All right, one down. We got one to go. Coming up next, Gibbs Keeton. He's going to talk a little UTEP soccer with us. Then Jeff Erickson. Then John Teicher. Busy 5 o'clock hour as Sports Talk continues. 600 ESPN El Paso.
Fluids and Adrian Broadus.
I promise you that by the time you're done working with me, it's going to be like clockwork. You're never gonna have to hear me whisper sweet nothings in your ears like that. You're gonna be just fine. Alberto Duetta taking over for Adrian Broadus. As I mentioned, Adrian's gonna have a new fall schedule here on Sports Talk, and he'll have an opportunity to take Wednesdays and Fridays off, at least in the short term. And looking forward to spending more time with Alberto as we continue here on the program. Now, right now, as I promised. It is going to be a very busy hour on the Longhorn Distributing Hotline, where all of our guests always appear. In fact, this man is the head coach of the UTEP soccer team, and they are back in action. In fact, excited about this one because it is going to be an opportunity, folks, to watch the Miners on Heroes Night tomorrow battle it out with Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We're talking about Gibbs Keeton. Coach, welcome back to the program, and we appreciate the time. How are you?
What's up, guys? How's it going, man? We're really excited about tomorrow. You're absolutely right. Heroes Night and Senior Night. It's a good one.
It is. In fact, you get the opportunity to take on A&M Corpus Christi, and believe it or not, this is already your 5th match of the season. Now, you had a matchup last Wednesday that was canceled in Nacogdoches against Stephen F. Austin, but you're coming off of your most recent bout in Houston where you tied Houston Christian 1-1 this past weekend, and now you get an opportunity here 5 days later to go back at home and take on A&M Corpus Christi, which, by the way, they're calling this Senior Night. Explain this to me, because I always thought Senior Night was the last home game of the season. So how are things working right now, Gibbs?
You know, with Senior Night, we want to honor those seniors, and I don't think that it always has to be the last game of the season. And for us, we want to pay tribute to them as early as we can maybe this year, and it's not during conference, and conference can get convoluted with points and what our real objectives are, and we want to really be able to send this group off with a little more thank you than waiting till the last game of the year. And it's going to be a good one. It's a great matchup. You know, Corpus looks a little bit more like Commerce as far as their style of play. They're direct, and we hope to get a few more chances, which we saw on Saturday. So I think everybody's staying excited to be back at University Field, and it's going to be a really good matchup.
I'll tell you what, I mean, through your first 4 matches, you've had a very interesting run because every match has been either tied or decided by just one goal. So your defense has been strong. You've had a chance to put a few into the back of the net. But you tell me, are you pretty pleased with where this team is after your first 4 games this season?
I am. I think we talked briefly about the transition of what it's going to take to really create that winning mentality, and we're on the verge of that. And I feel like we could have 2 more wins had we cultivated that. But this is part of the transition. You know, you have to take your ties, which really felt like a loss, and we should have won that game. And hopefully we use that as encouragement, and it pushes us forward in this next game. But that's exactly where we are. And, you know, it's part of the process, and I expect us to continue to do better, and I am. Pleased is the perfect adjective. You hit that one on the head. That's great.
Meanwhile, Coach, you've already been to Abilene and Houston, so you've traveled with this team a little bit. On Sunday, after the Heroes Night game against Corpus, you're going to be playing an afternoon game in Albuquerque against the Lobos, and then you're going to head out, and the following week you're going to be in San Antonio and back to Houston again. So, and then after that, it's the start of conference play, and you're all the way in Georgia, meaning after this matchup Thursday, Coach, you're not home again until the end of the month. So another reason to come and watch you play tomorrow night is this is the last time we can even see you here until the 26th.
You're right, and these night games are so much fun, and we've created an environment that's really for everybody, from families to the avid soccer fan to the local familiar support. It's a really awesome opportunity to come join us at University Field. And I want to shout out, we're going to acknowledge a hero of the night. He's actually a Montwood graduate, a former cross-country runner, and a real superhero. And, you know, we want people to come out and support and thank him, too. His name's Fernie Gonzalez, and it's just going to be a night full of superheroes, I guess. We'll have Fernie and a group of seniors to recognize, so it's going to be a blast.
Gibbs Keeton is the head coach of the UTEP Miners, and he joins us live on our Longhorn Distributing Hotline as we continue. I look at the way things have gone so far. I guess Ana Quintero has been your leader. She's leading the team with 3 shots on goal. She's got a goal so far as well, and someone who's tried to make things happen. But she's not alone. In fact, you've had quite a few players tally shots on net, which has to make you happy. And now I guess it's just the key is going from shots to shots that could try to find the back of the net.
Absolutely. It's the objective of every coaching staff across the country, and I think the 2 hardest things to do are play goalkeeper and score goals. And I feel like our attack is on the verge of breaking out, but again, you got to take that big leap, and that's really up to the players, and that's their responsibility, and we'll coach with as much conviction as possible to help motivate and encourage our attacking players, but we also have good players in our back line that are dangerous in the attack too, so we will really embody that responsibility with our full team. And this past Saturday, you saw our center back. She actually scored 2 goals. One was VAR worthy of on or offside. And then in our home match, too, against Commerce, we had another goal that was pretty controversial. So we're seeing the ball hit the back of the net. We just need to do it without there being any referee's discretion included within that.
You mentioned the back line. What's your takeaways so far from your club's defense through the first 4 games?
You know, we're a group that's together, and we're taking a lot of pride in our defending. It's just those one moments that we took off that have led to the 2 goals against. And I think any coach would be proud to say we've only given up 2 goals at this point in the season. But I don't know, man. I have a different set of expectations for our back line. I think that we could have shut out all the teams that we've played so far. And we got to ask questions of ourselves. Why for this? You know, maybe we're talking about 20 seconds in totality, but why are we not engaged for those 20 seconds? And how can we fix that? Because our team really has to be great to win, and that's required a full 90-minute shift.
I'm wondering, too, because as I look deeper into this team so far, 4 matches, 12 offsides penalties. It's only 3 a game. Penalties as far as fouls, you're averaging about 10 of those a game, and 7 yellow cards in 4 matches. Do you look at those stats? Does that something that you like to see a team play relatively a game with few fouls and penalties, or does often tempo dictate style and whether a game is going to be more physical and you'll see more fouls and yellow cards than games that maybe don't have that same kind of physicality, Coach?
Man, there's so many good questions in there, and you bring up a lot. And the first thing is, if it's time to throw down and get yellow cards, I'll coach a team that does that, and we got that here. I think I've mentioned before, we can no longer say we're not tough enough. We are definitely embodying the West Texas mentality of being tough. And, I think Scotty's bringing a lot of energy and noise to that, and our female student athletes were doing that in the spring, and we absolutely love it. So if there's yellow cards to be given, then we're going to be up for the challenge. And then you talk about tempo, which is something we mention all the time. I think that you'll see an opponent that likes to disrupt tempo, but we'll be flexible. We'll be flexible in what we want to do. And if we need to play the ball over the top and get at our opponent that way, we'll be willing to do that.
Okay. Angelina Amparano, she's played strong in net for you. Started every game so far. In fact, you look at the way she's played, 14 saves so far. She's let a couple in, but she's already had 2 shutouts to her credit in her first 4 matches.
Angelina just embodies this captain's mentality, and I mentioned earlier how hard it is to play goalkeeper. And you should have seen her in training today, man. She was absolutely amazing yesterday and today. She's full of confidence regardless of the 2 goals that we've given up. And she's really having a silent captain's performance in goal, if that makes sense. I mean, it makes total sense to me. Super proud of her captaincy. It gives us a big hoorah as we go out in Houston. And I think she's doing a great job between the lines and off the field for our program. It's big time, really big time.
Again, senior night tomorrow night as UTEP takes on Corpus Christi. Game is going to kick off at 7 o'clock out at University Field. And for the Miners, an opportunity to build on that 1-1 draw last Saturday evening against Houston Christian. When I've talked to members of El Paso Locomotive FC and coaching staff over the years, they've often told me that it takes a little while for their team to get into game shape. It doesn't always happen within the first couple games of the season. Now, college is different. You do not have a schedule that goes 7 or 8 months long like USL and other soccer leagues. So for you, I guess it's got to be different. You need to make sure that your team is in mid-season form from the first match all the way through the entire season, because you just don't have an opportunity to try to get your legs under you and get a couple of matches under your belt, do you, Coach?
Yeah, it's tricky. It really is tricky. And you mentioned the duration of the USL. That's to their benefit. For us, we have the shortest season in NCAA collegiate athletics, and the reality is you got to be fit in that first game. And really, we use the exhibition to see where we are with our fitness level. But here at UTEP, it's a great shout-out to our strength and conditioning coach, John Leach. He's been a staple of the program for forever. We inherited a program that really didn't believe in fitness, where Jonathan wanted to be a bigger part of that. We've given him a lot of freedom, and I couldn't be more proud of the fitness strides we've made. And it's early, but we have the depth to share the minutes, and I think that you'll continue to see a new level of fitness that allows us to be the best version of us here with Miner Soccer.
7 shots on goal Saturday. You had 7 shots on net your first 3 games, so you matched it over the weekend. And you also have had the chance to win 11 of your last 14 corners over the past 2 contests. Are those some of the indications that tell you that this club is starting to turn the corner a little bit?
I think you could come be our analyst if you want. You could help us dive into all these stats. You're doing great. The big challenge was on the attacking side to get after it and get at goal. And we actually had 8 shots on goal with the Y-Scout report that comes out afterwards. And, yeah, I think now it becomes you get to turn the page a little bit, and it's like, hey, let's be picky about our shot selection. Let's be even more brave to get at the opponent and see if those shots on goal translate to goals. And that's what I feel is the next step with our attacking group, with our whole team. And the stats are supporting it game to game. But now we got to do the hardest part, which is be consistent, irrelevant of the opponent. And I think you'll see that. I think you'll start seeing that, especially as we get into conference play.
You had about 1,000 fans for the first 2 home matches so far this season against Texas A&M Commerce and UC Riverside. I also know that you've played against about 100 and maybe 225 for your first 2 road matches. What kind of a difference does that home crowd make for you, like you're expecting tomorrow night?
Are you coming to our huddles and being a part of
Stop
us?
it! Stop it! I am teeing you up with slow pitch softballs. I just want to see you start cranking them over the fence one by one by one. That's all.
Here's the thing. I love El Paso, and the reason I love El Paso is this is where I fell in love with soccer, and these people are showing up here. And this isn't anything to do with our opponent, just the environment. But of the 100 fans that we played in front of in whatever performance politically correct that we had on the road, we see more orange and blue than maybe what the opponent has out there. And we love that. And
Good.
That's a function of what we're trying to build. But there's nothing better than playing at University Field. And we hope that tomorrow night's a big one. It's an important one. They all really are. And our marketing is doing so much better to support us and get the word out. You have me on. I'm so appreciative of this. But, again, I love El Paso. We want to put a product out that is something people want to see. And this is where I fell in love with soccer, and I want to do that for our youth as well. And it's just the full circle, man. It's true. It's totally the full circle. And I want to win, and our community helps us do that.
Gibbs, I've seen where this program has been at the top with Kevin Cross in years past, and I know that's a goal of yours. You want to take this program back to that level on a consistent basis, hoping that we make some big strides here tomorrow and the next few weeks, and we'll come back and chat a little more UTEP soccer with you again real soon.
I'm ready whenever. Thank you so much, and we want to do that absolutely.
There he is, Gibbs Keeton, folks, head coach of the UTEP Miners, as we continue now joining us on our Longhorn Distributing Hotline, where all of our guests always appear. 18 past the hour. Let's get on out to Charlie for a little traffic. Then we'll do some fantasy talk next with Jeff Erickson from RotoWire.com right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. $22 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. Right back to our Longhorn Distributing Hotline, where all of our guests always appear. Joining us right now is Jeff Erickson from RotoWire.com, your one-stop shop for fantasy sports. In fact, if you have not been to RotoWire here in the last couple of days, well, you're missing the value meter. The value meter, I have been waiting for the Week 1 value meter, and when I saw it pop up, it was like I could now breathe a sigh of relief. I feel so much better, Jeff, as so do millions of others that now can look at your picks and have a better idea when they're trying to gauge 2 or 3 different player rankings.
Yes, sir. We're back. A nation's lonely eyes turn to my rankings. No, probably not. But it's good to be back. Good for another season here. So excited for this to start. Draft season is just never ending now. So I'm ever thankful when we, can move past draft season. I got 2 more drafts tonight, and I'm done. And then after draft season, we watch our players play, and then we can lament all of our mistakes.
Hey, by the way, you go 32 deep for quarterbacks, then you go 68 for running backs and 73 for receivers, 36 tight ends, and then your flex is 90 deep with kickers, the 32, and then defense 32 as well. Have we ever thought of expanding receivers beyond the 73? I'll give you an example.
I've done so at times, but I figure in week 1 you're going to start your starters and all that. I think there are some leagues where it might be pertinent. It might be for me in one league. I've got a 16-team league, Steve. So in that league, I could see a scenario there where I go deeper than that. But because if you're starting 3 receivers in a flex, okay, we're already up to 64, right, real quick. So it could get there pretty quickly. But yeah, and I may add some more. What typically happens is like, what about player X? What do you think about him? Well, okay, we'll add him. And then, of course, there's the panoply of 3rd receivers, 4th receivers that get more targets or get touchdowns in week 1, and then I feel compelled to add them to the list.
I don't blame you. I'm in an 18-team guillotine league. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah.
And I just picked
up
up
72 right away there with 3 receivers and a flex. So
I
get it.
Exactly right. I just took Jalen Tolbert, and I'm like, oh my God, he's not on Jeff's value meter. What the hell am I going to do now? I mean, these are the kind of crazy things that was happening with my morning coffee today.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm that the first iteration takes forever too, because from week 1 to week 2, I'll just we have it set up so I can import from the previous week, and then I just add players, and it's easy. But week 1, you're adding every single player manually, and it's a little bit laborious. So maybe that's why I cut a little shorter on the receivers there. But yeah, we can go deeper.
I'll say this. I think it's the usual suspects for your top 5 quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and C.J. Stroud. Although with number 6, I'm fascinated. Like Anthony Richardson, aren't you so curious to see if he flashes that same ability that he showed before he went down last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I've got him so high. And the funny thing is he did it against the Texans last year, where he had 2 rushing touchdowns and got concussed on the second one. Still played 2 more series because they didn't realize he had a concussion before ultimately getting sidelined for the rest of that game. But, yeah, it's super high upside, especially, in leagues where you value the running quarterback more. I play in one league which it's 1 point for every 30 passing yards, not 20. The Scott Fish Bowl, actually, it's 1 point for every 50 passing yards, so it's a real premium on running quarterbacks. And leagues like that exist.
I believe it. Hey, meanwhile, you've got Aaron Rodgers 25 and Kirk Cousins 26. So I guess the idea there is, number one, they're going against good defenses, and number two, let's wait and see how those Achilles decide to hold up before we could start putting them into the top 10 or top 15 overall.
Yeah, it's sight unseen. They didn't play, and that's the tricky part there. Same thing applies to Deshaun Watson. I think that's a tough spot for him too, where it's sight unseen. He had in the case of Watson, he even had soreness crop up, missing practices and the like. I probably should even be lower on Watson than I am. I mean, that's the one that really scares me.
Well, you've got Watson at 22 as they play the Dallas Cowboys and their defense. Meanwhile, as far as rookies go, how about Caleb Williams? You've got him 13th, and then you also have Jaden Daniels 16th. So a couple of rookies in the top 20 this week. Yeah,
and just outside of most leagues' starting range, most leagues stop at 12. There's obviously you and I are in bigger leagues here and there, but for the most part, the leagues that we're in are 12 teamers. I think that I'm very intrigued. They're both reasonably decent matchups. Although I'll say this about Daniels, Tampa Bay, gave Jalen Hurts all sorts of trouble in that playoff game last year. They were a team that got better as the season progressed. I could see a scenario there where they give Daniels a hard time.
Let's move to running backs for a second. You've got Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, 1 through 5 this week. No surprises there. They were all very, very high in drafts. Kyren Williams, you have 7th against Detroit, and I don't know what to think of him because he was amazing last year, and people now that he's going to be on special teams returning punts, all of a sudden people are ready to completely devalue him, look at last year as a fluke, and start loading up on rookie Blake Corum.
I get it, but he also won people leagues last year.
Yep.
I mean, we saw what Sean McVay uses, like one running back at a time. He doesn't usually go a timeshare. I still think that Kyren is. I'm worried about him more in the long term over the course of a long season than I am for this week. Let's put it that way. I think you could. It's funny. This is not the first time I've got a little bit of pushback on Kyren, and I am persuaded I might be a couple notches too high. But the reasons I'm scared about Kyren are durability and Corum, but I don't think either of those really rise up this week necessarily.
No, I agree. Not against Detroit. And people have to understand he was really good last season. Like, I don't even think people looked at his numbers and realized just how good he was with his total yards and touchdowns for the Rams.
Right. I mean, I think anybody who had him is fully aware of how good he was. Anybody who went up against him in a playoff game is fully aware of how good he was. It's just if you were not in that nexus, then maybe you're not quite as aware. But I mean, he was a league winner last year, no doubt.
More with Jeff Erickson, who joins us live on our Longhorn Distributing Hotline, where all of our guests always appear. But first, right back to Alberto Adueta standing by with this Sports Center update.
Thank you, Steve. Let's go over to some baseball news. Philadelphia Phillies first baseman Bryce Harper left Wednesday's game at the Toronto Blue Jays after being hit on the left elbow by a pitch. Harper winced in pain and grabbed his elbow after he was struck by a 92-mile-per-hour fastball from right-hander Bowden Francis in the first inning. Harper stayed in to run the bases and played defense in the first and second innings. Edmundo Sosa pinch hit for Harper to begin the third and took over at third base, with Cody Clemens moving from third to first. Let's go over to some NFL news. The Bengals received their most positive sign they could get on Wednesday. Wide receiver Jamar Chase participated in the first official practice of game week ahead of the team's season opener against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Chase was listed as limited participant in his first practice since resuming his hold-in amid a contract dispute. He and fellow wide receiver T. Higgins were among the last ones to walk out to practice. Now let's go over to some collegiate football news. Iowa State will be missing one of its top defenders as linebacker Caleb Bacon is out indefinitely following surgery Sunday to repair a lower left leg injury. Cyclones coach Matt Campbell said there's a chance Bacon could return later in the season, but did not put a timetable on when the redshirt junior could see the field. Bacon, a former walk-on, finished second on the team with 60 sacks in 2023. Sustained the injury in the first quarter of Saturday's win against North Dakota. This was your SportsCenter update. Let's go back to Steve.
Thank you, Alberto. Appreciate that. We're back with Jeff Erickson right now from rotowire.com as we continue. Yeah, I was looking at some of these baseball numbers. You know, we're talking so much football because the season starts tomorrow, but then I noticed that just when I was ready to think he was turning the corner and having so many great outings, Spencer Arrighetti today gave up 9 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning against the Reds.
Yep. I've got it on. You know, I'm a Reds guy, but I also have Arrighetti in my AL-only home league, and I've been riding that, getting all those beautiful strikeouts, even made the argument that maybe he and not Justin Verlander should be in the playoff rotation, and that's pretty much over now.
Yeah, it's too bad. But that's the crazy thing. You never know when guys are going to give you great outing after great outing, and then the ultimate clunker just comes up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and, you know, Arrighetti had another one of those earlier this year. Hunter Brown had one. Hunter Brown has, had the highs and the lows for this Astros team. He's clearly going to be in their rotation, no doubt about it. Probably number 2 behind Framber. But after that, they kind of, they actually had, like, at one point 6 legit choices. Looks like Blanco's no longer an option for them. But this Arrighetti start, I mean, this opens that discussion again. Like, maybe we can't trust him in the playoffs because you can't have a blow-up like this.
No, you can't. You absolutely can't. All right, let's jump back to football. We've spent the first 10 minutes with you, and we'll wrap things up here since the football season starts tomorrow night. Back to running backs for just a second. I know we're talking a lot about Kyron Williams and what he's able to try to do this season, coming off that great season a year ago. Aaron Jones, 17, Kenneth Walker, 18, James Conner, 20. These are all guys that still have the ability to perform as RB1s, but they all have a lot of questions next to them, don't they?
Sure. Often durability is the first thing that we ask in these situations. James Conner is especially the case there. It seems like, he's good to miss 2 or 3 games every year. Last year we saw Arizona, a much different team with and without him last year. I guess you could say the same for Aaron Jones when he was on the Packers last year. It was just a huge difference when they had a full capacity Aaron Jones versus when they didn't. They went out and they switched it and signed Jacobs, so we'll see how that works out for him. But on Minnesota, I'm a little concerned about their interior offensive line. I think I like Aaron Jones on the Packers more than I like him on the Vikings.
I don't blame you. Although I'm looking at what's happened in Green Bay. A.J. Dillon's already out for the season. I know they picked up Josh Jacobs, but suddenly you lost your kind of reliable two-back that has helped Aaron Jones carry the load the last few years.
Yeah, no doubt. And they also drafted rookie Marshawn Lloyd, who's been dealing with all sorts of hamstring problems, been limited in practice this week. It could be you're looking at Emmanuel Wilson now as the backup there. Wilson's dealing with his own stuff, though, too. He's got a little bit of a hip issue. So a little bit of intrigue. They play Friday night, too. So, going down to Brazil. We'll see how that all shapes out for them there.
What do you do if you own Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle in the Cowboys backfield, and either one or the other or both in terms of those backs this season?
Yeah, tough to start any of them right now. And the fact that they went out and they signed Dalvin Cook, to me, that shows that they're not necessarily happy with what they were getting. And then they cut like Bryce Freeman to make room for him. But I think I slightly prefer Dowdle, but I also worry that he doesn't get goal line carries. I think if there's one thing Zeke's good at, it's short yardage stuff, and I think he'll still get a good chunk of those. So I think it might be tough to start any of the Dallas running backs just on a volume basis.
What about the situation in Pittsburgh right now with Jaylen Warren?
Looks like he's going to be able to go. And this is what they've been hinting at for the last week and a half. I still prefer Najee Harris over Warren. I think it'll be kind of a 60-40 situation, though. It's always been a timeshare, and there are going to be weeks when Warren is the better back. I still like Harris for the long term. I certainly prefer him for this week.
All right, now moving to receivers. Guys coming off either contract disputes or injuries. Let's start with Jamar Chase. What do you do if you drafted Jamar in the first 5 overall picks? What do you do with him this weekend?
I think if he plays, you play him. I'm encouraged that because not only did he practice today, and I'm encouraged by that, he saw some practice time last week too. He's been attending the meetings. He's not learning a new team. He's not learning a new system. He's not trying to gain chemistry with Joe Burrow. They have that already. It's just a matter of him being up to speed. Now, maybe he gets eased in this first week. That's possible, but I'm probably not going to sit him against the Pats. I'm probably going to go ahead and use him.
With all the love on Puka Nacua and what we've seen from him, do you feel like Cooper Kupp in a way is kind of sliding a little bit under the radar from what we've seen prior to last season?
I think early in draft season that was the case. I think recently that is not happening. I think if anything, that gap has narrowed between the two. It didn't help Puka that he got hurt in Puka's draft value, that he got hurt a little bit early. Yeah. That bursa sack issue. He's been full go in practice since last week though, so should be ready to go. But I think the gap has narrowed there. It used to be you could get Cooper Kupp sometimes as late as the 4th round or mid-3rd. Now he's going late 2nd, sometimes even mid-2nd. But he's only had a couple of seasons where he stayed fully healthy and had those big years. It's just the extent of his big year has been so big that's what makes it really interesting.
Top 5 on your board: Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown. Who are some of your receivers farther down the list that you really love their matchups here in Week 1?
I really think that T. Higgins is going to get a ton of volume. I think even if Chase plays, Higgins is going to get a lot of workload. I'm intrigued to see what Chris Godwin does in the slot against the Commanders. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. I think he's going to get a lot of use. I think I'm intrigued to see which Packers receiver gets more volume in Week 1. And if it's something that differs from week to week, I think everyone drafts Jaden Reed first among those wideouts, but I have a lot of Dontavian Wicks on my teams, so I'm kind of curious to see what sort of usage he gets.
Between the rookies like Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, I know also Xavier Worthy is in your top 50, as is Rome Odunze. Who do you like in terms of guys that really should be able to kind of start strong this season from a fantasy standpoint?
I think that it's always tough with rookies, but Worthy's stepping into a great situation at the very least. Although often rookie receivers have taken a little time to kind of acclimate to Andy Reid's offense, but man, all the reviews of him have been so good so far in training camp and the preseason, guy like that. Khalil Shakir on the Bills is another one. Not a rookie, but a guy that I think is going to step up in class this year.
All right. Once again, a lot of great information on the value meter. That's just one of many things that's up at rotowire.com. Let's talk and profile some of the other big articles that you think our listeners would love to check out.
Sure. It's week. It's the first week of the season, so now all of our regular articles are in there. Whether it's staff picks, we're picking against the spread, or Jason Thornberry's Survivor Strategy article. Always great stuff. We got 2 different waiver wire articles. One's a deep dive waiver wire article that Dan Marcus does. You name it, we got it. We got a guillotine article. I know you play in one of those leagues. So if anybody's still doing a guillotine draft, check that out. One thing that's great about guillotine leagues, you can start them at any time. So if you only got if you got 15 people who want to start week 2, you can do that. Maybe wait for things to calm down a little bit. I did a guillotine league like that started in week 2, so it can be a lot of fun to do that.
I know you also have partnered with Locker. You've got a special league that starts next week for week 2 of the NFL season. Very affordable, $10 for an entry. How about a prize package and prize pool of over $5,000? That's also up right now on the website.
Yeah, indeed. And it's a different type of DFS platform, in-game format there, and a lot of our writers are going to be playing on that. I probably won't because I got my golf trip next week, Steve. So I'm going to be kind of focused on that. Rare to do it in season, but I'm going to probably not do any drafts next week.
There's an actual in-game fantasy league that's going to be going on?
Yeah, it looks like it there with the locker format there. So really it's a kind of a live format there. I'll know more about it by the time we talk next.
Looking forward to it. As always, enjoy the first weekend of games. The golf trip sounds like a blast. And, oh, by the way, college football is already underway, so we've seen some good ones to start the season. And did you expect Florida State to be 0-2 right now?
Oh, my goodness. Oof. That was a tough one. I heard it was a tough watch. I actually didn't get to watch it because I'm a DirecTV guy, and so I don't get ESPN right now because of their dispute. So didn't get to catch that game, but I caught the first game against Georgia Tech. And Uncle Egg went to a high school out here, and I really, a lot of people had really high hopes for him, and it hasn't worked for him, and it's a shame. But yeah, at the same time, kind of hate to see it when it's Florida State there. But I love college football season. It's a blast. So I was watching a ton of it on Saturdays. Like, this is nice.
It is. It is so nice. Hey, great to have you back. Appreciate you, Jeff. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
You got it. He's Jeff Erickson, rotowire.com. When we come back, John Teicher will join us next. He's going to be on location in East El Paso, Border City Ale House, getting ready for UTEP football with Scotty Walden. It's all coming up right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. There before, you've been to Hudson's. You have bounced around the Anthony Duncan circuit on the east side of town for many, many years.
Yeah, it's good to be back at the Ale House, Steve. And actually, we're in the second room. We're in the room as you're looking in to the Ale House from the parking lot. We're in the room on the left. It used to be we were in the big room with all the pool tables and the shuffleboard tables and everything. But now we're in the smaller room, but it's still a very, very large room. And we've got a good crowd on hand and still moving in as the show is, about 10 minutes away?
Exactly right. Tell me a little bit about what your first ever trip to Lincoln, Nebraska was like this past weekend.
Steve, among the best environments I've ever had a chance to experience UTEP football and college football in. And frankly, it met my expectation. I knew it was going to be something special. The venue itself is incredible. The fans are like few others in college football in terms of their passion and their dedication to the Cornhusker program. And obviously they may be looking ahead a little bit with Deion Sanders in Colorado coming in to Memorial Stadium this week. But they were ready for Nebraska football to show some signs that they are turning the corner towards returning to the way Nebraska football traditionally has been. And certainly Matt Rule and the Cornhuskers gave them something to talk about after Saturday's game.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 27 years since Dr. Tom Osborne was out there as head coach, but that's exactly how long it's been, Taish. And they looked good. They looked like a team that recovered after the UTEP score to tie it at 7 early. And once that safety happened, it seemed like Nebraska was able to settle down and really put things in a different gear.
Yeah, sure. That second quarter was certainly decisive. It was a 7-7 game going into the second quarter, and it was 30-7 at halftime. So Miners gave up 23 points in the last 10.5 minutes of that first half, and that was decisive.
No doubt about it. And now we get the opportunity Saturday for the home opener. I'm excited about that. I know you're excited about that. For so many reasons. There's probably going to be close to 40,000 fans there. That's always fun. But the biggest thing is there's only 5 home games, John, and we're not going to get another one in the month of September, so we got to enjoy this one until we start to get to that crazy October weeknight schedule.
And believe it or not, Steve, it is the only Saturday night home game of the entire season. The last 2 home games in November are both played in the afternoon. And, of course, the other 2 games are going to be in October on weeknights. So it is the only 7 o'clock start on a Saturday in this entire 2024 UTEP home season. So certainly Miner fans like their nighttime football, and this is the only opportunity they're going to have on a Saturday in 2024.
Probably the first time in the history of the program that we've only had one Saturday night football home game.
I would imagine probably going back to the days when good old Kidd Field didn't even have lights, which I'm sure was the case long, long ago.
Are you ready for the start of NFL season? And, of course, your brother having the opportunity to cover the back-to-back Super Bowl champs and hoping for the first three-peat in the history of the game.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to it, and I know Adam is too. I don't know whether he's told you, Steve, but this is going to be his last year. He is retiring from media and writing after this season, and he's going to move to Colorado. So they're going to close the Kansas City chapter on the Teichers there and make their way to Colorado after this 2024 NFL season.
Wow. Maybe that also means, I did not hear that, so that's breaking news for me. Maybe that also means that Adam could be spending more time in El Paso visiting his bro than he's had over the years because of his job.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, and I hope to get the opportunity maybe to cross paths with him while he's still working one more time if we can figure out a way to work things out.
Yeah, well, you've been out to Arrowhead and you've seen the Chiefs in person, and I'm sure that it's probably just as incredible to see it face-to-face as you could get a chance to see it when we watch them on TV.
Their tailgating, Steve, is more like a college atmosphere than it is an NFL atmosphere. When you're out in the parking lots, you think you're at a college game as opposed to an NFL game. It's incredible.
Man, sounds like a winner. Hey, we'll talk to you here at the top of the hour. Have a great show, and as always, appreciate the back and forth, Teish.
All right, Steve, thanks.
John Teicher standing by, and he'll be ready to go with UTEP football with Scotty Walden. That's going to be coming your way live from Border City Ale House. 1506 Lee Trevino. Make your way on down. And when you head over there, just head to the back. That's where John is, getting ready for talking UTEP football for the next 60 minutes. We'll do that next right here and back tomorrow at 4 with more Sports Talk. Thank you, Alberto. Terrific job running the show for us today. We'll see you then tomorrow, folks. 600 ESPN El Paso.